Welcome to Go Get Great, the podcast for aspiring entrepreneurs and ambitious small business owners. I'm your host, Brittany, owner of Brittany Miller Socials and mother of 3. Go Get Great is all about helping you make life and business work together. You'll learn about the fumbles that helped get me and my guests to where we are today so you don't have to make them. So come join the journey with Go Get Great. Good morning and welcome back to the Go Get Great podcast. It's been a little while since I've had a guest on, so I'm very excited to welcome Val Casola this morning. She is a copywriter, a brand storyteller for service providers. She helps female entrepreneurs refine their digital presence and align their brands with messaging that helps them stand out in their industries, sell their services confidently, and attract and book the clients they really want to work with. Now, I'm sure many of you will resonate with her mission and wanting to do that in your business. So definitely stay tuned for today's episode because Val shares some very practical ways that we can build brands and specifically brands that tell stories that connect with your audience. So it's going to be really helpful information for any of you looking to generate clients and make those personal connections with the people that you really want to work with in 2024. So without further ado, welcome Val. All right. Well, good morning and welcome to the Go Get Great podcast, Val. We're so excited to have you today. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for the opportunity to be here today. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, I have been doing some copywriting, so I am very excited to have a copywriter on again. And before we dive in with my 800 copy questions, I would love it if you would just introduce yourself in your own words for anyone that hasn't met you before.
Absolutely. So my name is Val. I am a copywriter and a brand storyteller for creative and lifestyle brands. And I like to work with anyone who has a service that makes life easier, happier, healthier, or more fun. Those are just, the best stories to write is those kind of transformations. So that's, why I focus in that area. And I help you articulate the value of your services and tell a really exciting transformational story that makes your prospects really excited to invest in your offers and solutions. And I do this through done for you website copy, sales page copy, and email copy.
Okay. I love it. And like I said, I invested in a little bit of copywriting for my website this year. So it's definitely something that's top of mind. So I think that's kind of a good place to get started. It's a new year. Everyone's setting new business goals and new intentions. So how can copywriting help them support their goals in 2024?
Yeah, so I'm sure most people, when they think of their business goals for 2024, they reflect on all the things that might not have gone quite right in 2023 or things that they just want to improve upon in 2024. And I find, especially when my clients come to me, that looks like, having a message that they feel really confident in, so they feel excited to consistently show up and sell their services. That includes attracting more right fit clients to their world and repelling those who might not be a good fit. That includes really getting crystal clear on how they want to be known in their industry, what they want to be known for, how they want to be remembered, what kind of relationships and boundaries and expectations they want to set with the clients who come into their world. And this is exactly what copywriting does. Having copy that speaks to the person that your services are a great fit for increases your confidence and makes it fun, which is, I like to think of making your business fun as like the ultimate hack to being consistent. Copy also helps you attract the right people and repel those who aren't right for your business. And it also helps you get, really crystal clear on how you want to communicate your vision and your mission to the world through the way you do your services. So I find that copy really does support those 3 goals. And those are a lot of the things that I hear people say that they want to, improve on in the new year because it maybe, didn't work out so well for them last year, or they want to get even more hyper-focused and specific moving forward.
Yes. So copy is kind of like the underlying thing that supports every single goal that you have, which is really cool. Kind of intimidating if you are not necessarily a copywriting expert yourself. So that's why we have Val here today to kind of share her expertise with us and help us move in the right direction. So you're talking a lot about helping find the words and the phrases that are going to naturally attract your ideal clients, your dream clients, whatever it is that you want to call them, and then repel the people that are not a good fit for you. And that really all ties into brand voice, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Your brand
Mm-hmm.
voice is, I feel like it's a word that entrepreneurs, they run away from because people are like,
Yep.
how the heck am I supposed to figure out like what my voice is supposed to be? And I think we
Mm-hmm.
have that reaction because when we think about ourselves, like it's just weird. You know, like writing about yourself is weird. It can feel awkward. It can feel really tough. You don't know what to say. And when you think about how to take your demeanor and like put it down on paper, it's kind of like, you know, looking in the mirror and you see yourself one way and then you see a photograph of you and you're like, oh, well, that's not what I look like in the mirror. Like, or like, what is going on here? I feel like that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
the situation people experience when they think about their brand voice. So to help people kind of overcome that, I like to flip the question on its head and like spin it around and change the subject of the question. So instead of sitting down and thinking to yourself, like, what is my brand voice? Instead of thinking in terms of you, think in terms of the person you want to talk to, right? And think about how
Mm.
do I want to make this person feel today? How do I want this person to walk away from my messaging? And what do I want them to remember? What do I want them to remember about me? And really just focusing on taking the pressure off of yourself and putting it onto the person that you want to serve. Because if you're in business, you want to serve other people, and it's easier to think in terms of like, okay, let's think less about myself. Let's think more about how I want to help other people. And then from there,
Mm.
you can think to yourself, okay, well, if I want to make people feel really empowered and excited, how do I make my friends and my family feel empowered and excited? Like, what are some of the things that I say? What are some of the things that I do? And then it's just a lot
Mm.
easier of a way to approach the subject. And I think it takes the pressure off of you and it makes it a little bit more
Mm.
fun too, because you get to reflect back on, you know, what kind of relationships you have in your own life, how you act, how you talk, how you sound. And it's just a simpler way to approach such a freaky topic.
I like that. So when people are kind of doing these exercises to help them figure out how they want to make people feel, do you have any recommendations of how they can then take that information and actually implement their brand voice into their copy in a consistent way?
Yeah, so this is actually, there's a question in my onboarding questionnaire that's my favorite question out of the whole 50 or so that are on there. And I ask my clients to like have a heart to heart with their ideal client, like
Mm.
right here, right now. Like if you were, you know, sitting in a coffee shop having a drink and your ideal client in front of you is just, you know, feeling really down and like stuck in the struggle and they know that they really want to achieve this thing that they don't know how to do or they don't have the skill to do, like what would you say to encourage them? And I find that there's so much gold in those answers because it's kind of when, you
Mm.
know, my clients like they let their walls down a little bit and they start to talk like they're talking to their friend, which is exactly what we want to do with our clients. That's one way that I really recommend is just allow yourself to feel vulnerable and like really connect with the mission and the vision of what you're doing and allow yourself to even get like a little emotional or excited and really lean on the product of that and see where you can put that in your copy. So that's
Mm.
one way that I like to do that. Another way that I like to
Mhm.
do it is, you know, there's really simple spots where you can pepper in your brand voice where it's like fun and simple and easy. And you know, come up with some fun ways to like greet your audience or say goodbye to your audience. Like, do you have a name for your community?
Oh.
Do you have a certain way you like to say hello? Like, there's so many ways to say hi, hey, ciao, like, what's up? Like, what feels like natural and intro to you. Same thing with a goodbye. Like, how would you like to, you know,
Mhm.
sign off or say goodbye to your audience? So that's just another like really easy, simple. You can do that in like 15 minutes. Figure that out. Way to
Mhm.
incorporate your brand voice. And then there's also something called eyebrow copy. So eyebrow copy is the like heading that you'll typically see it right above a large headline. Like that's why they call it your eyebrow. If your eye is the headline, what's right above it is eyebrow
Mm-hmm.
copy. And that's a really great spot to just, get really casual and, say like cute catchphrases that you might say in real life, or to, just get real with your clients as they're reading your copy. And it's just a great place to insert your personality. So those are three
Mm-hmm.
suggestions on how to get your voice actually on the page.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I like that. And I think the other piece of it too is when you are working through it and figuring out what they are, document it in one place so that every time you're writing, you have something to go back to. And that's when you'll start to see some of that consistency come out in your brand voice, because you're like, oh, yeah, I had this really great idea when I was doing this exercise and I came up with this like catchphrase. I should use that more often. So I find I'll write things and then I'll go back and I'll review them 6 months later. I was like, that was really smart. Why did I stop saying that?
Yeah, consistency, repetition is that's what consistency is. So, don't be afraid to repeat things all the time. Like repeat your greeting, repeat your sign off, repeat your tagline. Like people need to hear things multiple times for it to not only register with them, but then to start associating whatever that is with you. So repetition is the
Mm-hmm.
key to consistency.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about storytelling now because you mentioned that in your intro, and I find that it's fascinating. I read Donald Miller's Building a Story Brand book over the holidays, and I really enjoyed it. Um, and I thought it was great, but I'm left a little bit lost about how to implement it still. But I would love for you to just kind of start with, what is storytelling in marketing and how can it be impactful for businesses?
Yeah. So storytelling in marketing really in like its simplest terms is connecting with your audience over real life experiences. Um, you know,
Mm,
we connect so much more in the mundane than we think. And I find, people who are a little bit anxious about storytelling, they tend to think like I have to tell a really dramatic and impactful
mhm,
story, or I have to, tell a different story all the time, or, maybe I have to start and finish a story in the same spot, or I need to entertain people. And all those things are helpful in the right places at the right time. But I feel like just putting that pressure on yourself makes it really difficult to actually get started with storytelling. So first, I just want to say like your stories don't have to be any of those things at any given time. Like if you want to start storytelling and you're worried you have to entertain people all the time, you don't like you don't need a dramatic, impactful story like a crazy story to entertain
mhm.
people. I was talking with the professional organizer the other day, and she was like, I don't really know how to tell stories. And I shared a story from my own life that happened to me recently. I was cooking pasta. And as I was cooking pasta, these little black bugs, like as it was boiling, they came to the surface of the pot. And I was like, guess I'm not eating this pasta. I should probably clean out my pantry. And what perfect segue to a professional organizer to talk about her services for cleaning out your
Mhm.
pantry, organizing your pantry, than a story like that. And that's really not an entertaining story. It's just something that happened from my own life. So to answer
Mhm.
your original question, storytelling really is it's just connecting over shared life experience.
Okay. Well, when you say it like that, it sounds so easy. But yeah, I definitely fall into the trap of like, I'll sit down to write an email and be like, okay, I should put a story in it. And then I start writing and like my brain goes, ooh. And then I make it to the end of the email. I was like, did I even tell them what happened at the end of the story? Like, I don't even know anymore. So is there like a specific story flow that you can follow if you are trying to kind of write for like an email or a social media post?
Yeah, so I would, first I would think about the story you're telling and think about if there's a moment that is really applicable to what you're trying to get across in the email. So I'll just go with that pasta boiling story with the bugs.
Hmm.
I could talk about everything that happened to me that day, right? I went to the store, I bought this pasta. Little did I know when I put it in the pot, it was going to, all these bugs were going to come out. Like, I don't need to go into that much detail, right? We want to just zero in on the moment in action that really reflects the point we're trying to make. So that's the first piece of advice I would give, is just like start in the middle of things. And that is, always a way to, it's a great hook. It's a great way to capture people's attention. It's a great way to create a little drama where there is no drama, is when you start right in the middle of things. And then, I would just tell it naturally. Like, you will feel like, we tell stories to each other all the time, whether we're marketing for our business or just talking to a friend. So really just imagine the person on the other side of the screen as being your friend. Think about, how would I tell the story to them? And you want to just make sure that your point doesn't get lost. You want to make sure the reason why I'm telling this story is clear to the connection to whatever I'm trying to teach this person is, and just let it flow really naturally. So that's the story flow that I would follow. You give people a glimpse, you explain the relevance, and then you get into the meat and potatoes of the teaching moment.
Okay, I like that. And I think that when you cut out all of the context, which I am notoriously known for, it's like all of those little details about the before the trip, before the pasta cooking, that's me. Well, I'll work on that. Once you kind of cut right to the point, I think it's a lot easier to build storytelling in, not only to emails, which can be longer, but also to social media posts, which is another good spot for storytelling too, correct?
Yes, of course. Yeah. Remember that, there's all this buzz about how short our attention spans are. And yeah, it's true. Like, our attention spans are short. You want to capture our attention quickly, and really just zeroing in on that one relevant moment is going to help you really like solidify with that hook and solidify that you're going to capture somebody's attention. Because if you have to go into this long story about everything and you don't get to the point quick enough, you're going to lose people for sure.
Okay, makes sense. So, is there such a thing as too much storytelling in marketing?
I would only say if it distracts from your point. I think this relates back a lot to the last conversation we just had, where if you have too much exposition in your story, if you have too much of the details that really take away from the relevance, that's what I would describe as too much storytelling. Storytelling, we want to be specific. We want to zero in on those moments where we connect. And as long as you're doing that, and it's, your analytics are showing that it's resonating with your audience, I wouldn't, worry too much about telling too many stories. I don't think too many stories is a thing, because that's how we connect. That's how we connect as humans. We connect over shared life experience. And anytime you can leverage that, is a good strategy.
Okay, I like that. Now, I think you have a freebie that can help people build stories into their website, correct?
I do, yes. So I have a free about page guide, and it walks you through everything that, everything in terms of like marketing for your about page, and then fun stuff on your about page. And it really teaches you how to tell your story in a way that is, going to be more about your ideal client than you. That's a thing. People are always shocked to hear that your website's about page. It really shouldn't even be about you. Of course, it's about you and your story, but it's not a place for you to, in terms of conversion, copywriting, and in the space that I work in, like the lifestyle space, people really want that connection. And so your about page should be structured to connect with your ideal client rather than to be like your resume or something along those lines. So the guide teaches you how to tell that story in a way that connects you with your clients, helps, show your authority and build trust, and show your expertise and what makes you different. And also shows you all the fun stuff you can do along the way to help your audience connect with you on a personal level.
I like that. I like that. Yeah, that blew my mind when I heard that the first time, that your about page was not about me or about you. I was like, but it's literally in the title. but it is good to know. And it makes so much sense. And now that I've had my about page done by a copywriter, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Now I know from experience, because I have been working with other copywriters too about websites, that the about page is a great spot to put some more storytelling, but there are also other places that you should include it in your website as well, correct?
Yeah, of course. You can storytell all over your website.
Okay. It was like, I think homepage is another popular one.
Yeah, for sure. It might be helpful if I go through maybe the different types of storytelling that are really good for your copy, and then we can talk about how they go on your website. So
Yeah,
the
that'd be
first
great.
story that I always recommend people include in their storytelling marketing is their story. So who are you? Why do you do what you do? How did you get started? What drives you? What's your mission? What's your vision? Those are all things that your ideal client wants to know. And
Mhm.
then we can talk about your ideal client story. So your ideal clients, especially in this space where I work, where, a lot of the time when they reach out to someone for help, they're kind of in a vulnerable position. So, like a professional organizer comes into somebody's house and, sees all the things people want, and you usually like sweep under the rug, stuff in the closet. Like it's like the skeletons in their closet, so to speak. Which,
Mhm.
takes a certain level of trust and vulnerability for somebody to hire someone and let them into their home like that. Um, so people want to know that you understand them. People want to know that you know what life looks like right now. You know what I'm struggling with. You know what I want to achieve. You know what I might have tried in the past and didn't work for me.
Mhm.
And you know why maybe I'm hesitant to hire somebody like you. Like being able to pepper that story in through your copy in a way that feels really relatable and helps build trust is a really important tactic that you want to make sure you're aware of and applying when writing your website. So we
Mm.
have your story, we have your ideal client story, we have your transformation story. So we
Mm.
all, like as human beings, we act out of our own self-interest. It's just how we were designed. It's in our nature. And that's why you'll hear copywriters say all the time, like, what's in it for them? Like you can talk about your services until your mouth falls off, but if you're not telling people what they're going to get out of it, it's going to be really difficult for you to make a sale. Because at the end of the day, I'm not hiring a realtor because they're a realtor. I'm hiring a realtor, or I'm working with a realtor because I want to start the next stage of my life, or I want to experience a new adventure, or I want a change of scenery, or I need to, move for a job, or, a divorce, or just to be closer to family, whatever event that is. Like you're hiring for support to experience that thing on the other side.
Mm.
So when your marketing isn't centered around the thing, you're going to lose people's interest really quickly because they're not seeing what's in it for them. And why would somebody hire you and hand over 3, 4, 5 figures if they're not going to get anything back in return?
Mhm.
So that's why your transformation story is so important. So you want to be able to show people that, like, hey, I understand your life looks like XYZ. I have this solution that I've designed to help you overcome XYZ. And then when you overcome XYZ, here's what your life is going to look like on the other side. And that's probably one of the most important stories that you can tell in your marketing. And you definitely want it to be like the main character on your website. Um, and then there is one more story that you can tell on your website. I think it's a lot better suited for email marketing for sure. Because they're kind of like bite-sized chunks of stories. But I
Mm.
like to call this the impactful moments story. And that's when you're showing your audience that, what life looks like right now beyond like a bullet point list of things that they might be struggling
Mm.
with, right? So say, you're a mom and your garage is a total mess, and you can't find the kids old artwork, you can't find the birthday candles, you can't find the snowshoes, or the ski pants or whatever, because your garage is a mess. Like telling the story of what that actually looks like and allowing your client, your ideal client, to see themselves in that story and say, oh my gosh, like that was me this morning, or I forgot to put my, kids newsletter, or I'm sorry, field trip permission slip in their backpack, and I have to go drive it up there. I forgot to take the chicken out and defrost it in the sink, right? Like telling the little pieces of what life looks like to connect through the struggles, the main overarching struggles you want to talk about. It's just a great way to show people that, like, hey, I understand. Like, I know this is literally, I'm not just saying you're struggling with XYZ. I'm saying I know your life actually looks like, ABC in addition to XYZ. And that's just a really great way to create connection and build trust and get people interested in hearing more about what you have to say. So in summary, the 4 stories that I always recommend you be telling is your story, your ideal client story, your transformation story, and those little like impactful moments stories.
I like that. I like that a lot. So where would some of those stories go on your website?
Yeah, so the first thing that comes to mind is your transformation story. You want that to be the first thing that people see. So I always recommend the hero headline. So the headline at the very top of your homepage is the first thing people read on your website. So I would make sure that headline speaks to that transformation, and it tells people exactly what they can expect to receive as a result of working for you, while also identifying whether or not you serve somebody like them, and also like what your services are. So I would say like your transformation story, of course, should be everywhere, but on that homepage, it's critical because that's where you get to really give someone a bird's eye view of everything that you do, and you want to reel them in to learn even more with the promise of what's in it for them. So that's one recommendation. And then I love to, additionally, like reshare a little bit about your story on the bottom of your contact page. So if you think about it in terms of the customer journey, someone who has made it all the way to your contact page is likely interested in, submitting an inquiry or thinking about, going through the thoughts of like, is this right for me? Can this really help me? Is it going to help me achieve what I want? Is this the right person for me? And so when they scroll down to the bottom of your contact page, if they can hear a little bit more about you and your story again, and how it relates to their struggles and their desires, and how it relates to the transformation you can offer. Like I always love to say, like, put a little like mini about section underneath your inquiry form, so you can remind people again of who you are and what you do, and get that information top of mind. So those are 2 suggestions of places you can tell stories on your website.
I like that. That makes a lot of sense. And in terms of like flow of how people use your website, not everyone visits your about page before they go to the contact page. So that one really makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So before we wrap up today, I would love to just kind of ask you if you have any other easy to implement copywriting tips for lifestyle business owners, whether that's for a website or email marketing or social media. Just what can we do this year to kind of help give ourselves a competitive advantage in the digital landscape?
Yeah, so my biggest tip is remember that it's not about you. And that's the biggest mistake that I see in the industry, is that people treat their marketing like their resume. And of course, you want to show off your qualifications, you want to show off your experience, you want to show off your expertise, but those credentials and the letters behind your name, it's not the only way to do that. You can solidify a lot of authority and expertise in your field by showing people that you just get them. You know what's going on. You're aware of the problems that they face. You're aware of what they want. And it's almost comforting to know that you have connected with a service provider who knows what you want and can get you what you want. So my biggest tip, if you take anything away from this episode, would be your marketing is 90% about your business and 10% about you, because you're helping somebody make a decision for their life first and foremost. And then secondary to that, you are showing them, why you're the person to do it.
Okay. I like that. And yeah, that works for email and website and social media. There you go. You checked all the boxes. Okay, I have one last question for you that I usually like to ask. What is one of the biggest fails you've made in your business, and what have you learned from it?
I would say that I didn't set boundaries and expectations quickly
Mm,
enough. And I know when you start a business, some people start a business on a 9 to 5 job, which is what I did. Also, some people start business because they got laid off from the 9 to 5 job. Um, and in my case, I was in a job that I really wasn't passionate about. I didn't want, and I wanted to get out as quickly as possible. So
mhm,
I took any work that I could find. And, sometimes that's what you have to do, but I kind of stayed in that feast or famine mode, I think, a little bit too long. And I didn't set those proper boundaries and expectations with the type of work that I took on, the type of
mm,
client I wanted to work with, and how I wanted to get that work done. And the consequences of that were a lot of anxiety, confusion, and burnout. And I wish that I had realized that I had more power than I thought I did um,
mhm,
earlier on. And it definitely taught me a lot about just being an entrepreneur and stepping into this new stage of life where I'm a business owner and not an employee.
mhm.
Because you don't really think about setting boundaries and expectations with your corporate employer or your boss. Um, so that was new for me. And if I had to pick a failure, I would say that, but it taught me so much and I wouldn't change it for anything.
hmm Well, it sounds like you are in a much better space now as a business owner. So I'm glad that you were able to learn that lesson probably relatively quickly, though, because I know you haven't been in business that long. I know it feels long when you're in it, but in big pictures, it hasn't been that long. But okay, that's great. So for anyone that's listening today that absolutely loved hearing from you, and I hope that everyone did, where can they find you if they want to learn more?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. I love to hang out over there. I'm at Val Casola Writes, and then my website, valcasola.com. I have a blog on there that I share new posts weekly, teaching you how to become a
Hmm.
better copywriter for your business. And if you're looking for more tips and tricks and different perspectives on copywriting, there's a ton waiting for you over there.
hmm I follow you on Instagram and I definitely learn a lot from following along. Like I said, I haven't figured out how to implement 100% of it, but like I'm pocketing in ideas for later. So thank you so much for being on the podcast with us today. I know I definitely learned a lot. I have some more website homework to go and do. Uh, and for those of you listening, we will see you again next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Brittany.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Go Get Great. I hope you found some useful tips and tricks that can help you make life and business work together. If what I said resonates with you, please share it on social media and don't forget to tag at Brittany Miller Socials so that I can celebrate you for taking those first steps towards achieving greatness. Remember, success doesn't happen overnight. It takes dedication, hard work, and a lot of spirit. So don't be afraid to dream big and go after what you want. Keep striving for greatness. You get closer with every step forward, no matter how small they may seem. Until next time, go get great.